So this is an interesting opportunity and idea, and I'm eager to follow up on this project. So yes, Mr. Speaker, I'm proud of our budget, Bill C-29, and the planning that our government has undertaken for the future, and I'm happy to say so. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Statements by members. Déclaration de député. L'honorable député de Rivière.
General Member for Rivière du Nord. Mr. Speaker, I never thought that I could be as proud of being a Quebecer as I am tonight, said René Lévesque when the Parti Québécois won the elections on November 15th, 1976. This was a historic victory, and the theme of the election was "Tomorrow belongs to us." In the coming years, the Lévesque government communicated that sense of pride to us, with acts concerning the funding of political parties, the protection of agricultural territories, the Anti-Scab Act, the Charter of the French language, and the first referendum on sovereignty. I can tell you that tomorrow belongs to us. 40 years later, the Bloc Québécois pays tribute to the men and women who helped forge the unique identity of the Quebec people, which is something like the identity of a great nation. Thank you.
Stony Creek.
Mr. Speaker, the Hockey Hall of Fame added new stars to the galaxy. Eric Lindros, Sergei Makarov, Rogatien Vachon, and my old friend and neighbor, Pat Quinn. Pat was born and raised in the East End of Hamilton and lived a life that brought honor to his family, his neighborhood, his city, and his country. Pat was one of hockey's greatest coaches, a darn good hockey player, an all-around athlete, a scholar, a family man, and a guy who never forgot the people he grew up with. I first knew Pat as a baseball player on our 1955 championship team. He was the best player, but mostly he was the big, tough, friendly guy you were glad to have on your side. Pat was one of the greatest Toronto Maple Leaf coaches and coached Canada to 2 World Junior Hockey Championships and an Olympic gold medal. Pat was kind enough to endorse his old baseball teammate when I ran successfully for mayor of Hamilton, because despite all of his success, including membership now in the Hockey Hall of Fame, Pat Quinn never forgot his roots. Thank you.
The Honourable Member for Provencher.
Mr. Speaker, our Prime Minister was elected just over 1 year ago. Although not my choice, I personally congratulated him, assured him that I would pray for him, and wish on him God's blessings. Democracy can be messy, and election campaigns often bring out the worst in people. We've seen that. I would like to congratulate Donald Trump on becoming President-elect, as well as the newly elected and re-elected members of Congress and state governors. Mr. Speaker, the United States is and will remain Canada's closest friend. Our unique relationship is time-honored. We've been friends, partners, and allies for nearly 150 years. My focus will continue to be on bilateral initiatives that will help move our economy forward, create jobs, promote trade, and enhance our collective security. My riding of Provencher shares a significant stretch of border with the United States, and I will be encouraging our government to continue to enhance the special relationship we have with our longtime friends and neighbours. May God continue to bless America. God bless Donald Trump.
The Honourable Member for Ville-Marie, le Sud-Ouest, Île-des-Sœurs.
Caution to surrender. This I could not do. I took my gun and vanished. I have changed my name so often. I've lost my wife and children. There were 3 of us this morning. I'm the only one this evening, but I must go on. The frontiers are my prison. Oh, the wind is blowing. Through the graves, the wind is blowing. Freedom soon will come.
The Germans came to find me. They told me to surrender, but I could not do this. I changed my name so often. I've lost my wife and children, but I have so many friends. I have all of France. An old man in an attic hid us for the night. The Germans caught him, and he died without surprise.
The wind is blowing. Through the graves, the wind is blowing. Freedom soon will come. Then will come from the shadows. Rest in peace, Leonard.
There you go.
The Honourable Member for Regina Louvain.
Mr. Speaker, in most parts of Canada, the federal government has struggled to foster competitive telecommunications to lower prices for consumers. In Saskatchewan, phone companies face stiff competition and consumers enjoy the lowest prices in Canada. That's because we own SaskTel, a Crown corporation dedicated to providing good service at affordable prices across our province. Unfortunately, Brad Wall's Sask Party has presented legislation allowing it to start privatizing SaskTel without the approval of Saskatchewan people. But such a deal may require approval of the Federal Competition Bureau, the CRTC, and the Minister of Industry. If the federal government is truly committed to competitive telecommunications and consumer protection, it should strive to keep SaskTel public.
Member for Brampton East.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Yesterday, thousands of Sikhs and Canadians all across this world celebrated the birth of Guru Nanak Dev Ji. Guru Nanak Dev Ji was a man of towering intellect with a fierce passion for community service, and he spent his entire life helping others and fighting for equality. Guru Nanak stressed the importance of mediation, Naam Japana, selfless service, seva, sharing, Vand ke Shakna, and hard work, Get Karni. These lay the principles of the Sikh way of life. Canada is proud to be the home of one of the largest Sikh communities outside of India, and these values of love, compassion, serving humanity and community are evident every day. For example, yesterday, Seva Food Bank, in coordination with CJMR Radio 1320, raised over $115,000 for their food bank, which will help alleviate food insecurity for the region of Peel. Happy Gurpurab, Mr. Speaker, and congratulations to the
Member for Bruce Grey, Owen Sound.
Thank you. Mr. Speaker, I rise in the House today to honour veterans across this country and remember those who made the ultimate sacrifice. During Veterans Week, I met and talked to dozens of veterans. Whether it was over breakfast at the Hanover Legion or after Remembrance Day services in Tara, Chatsworth and Owen Sound, it was an honour to personally thank veterans of Bruce Grey Owen Sound. I spoke with 101-year-old veteran Art Haley, who was recognized as Ontario's Senior of the Year, and 92-year-old Ken Reimer, who celebrated 70 years with the Chatsworth Legion. Mr. Speaker, we must make no mistake. Canadians would not enjoy our free and democratic way of life without the sacrifices of these Canadian heroes. Veterans are veterans 365 days a year, not just on Remembrance Day. I urge all members of this House and every Canadian citizen, if you see a veteran, shake their hand, thank them for their service, and never forget their sacrifice. To all veterans, thank you.
The honourable member for Don Valley East.
Mr. Speaker, I'd like to recognize the work of New Circles Community Service, a not-for-profit organization in my riding of Don Valley East. New Circles operates the largest clothing bank in Toronto, Glow, gently loved outfits to wear. Glow donates contemporary used clothing to those in need, including Syrian refugees, in a retail setting where they can pick outfits for themselves and their families. They also train youth in retail marketing. In addition, New Circles has a mobile mall which travels to 6 Toronto community housing seniors residents, enabling them to shop at their leisure. I applaud New Circles for the generosity of the organization and the positive impact they've had on so many people. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honourable member for Nipissing, Temiskaming.
Mr. Speaker, Abby Thompson founded Worthy Devotion in 2015 as part of her senior year project at Chippewa Secondary School in North Bay, Ontario. She wanted to do something that would have a lasting impact even after she graduated. Le but ultime.
The ultimate goal of this program is to provide students in grades 7 through 10 at Chippewa Secondary School with the tools they need to foster healthy self-esteem. In partnership with local businesses, students have the opportunity to attend workshops which encourage physical activity and healthy eating.
To thank Abby, who is now a first-year student at Nipissing University, for helping to build strong young women, and thank her for continued dedication in organizing Worthy Devotion Day 2017.
The honourable member for Elgin, Middlesex, London.
Mr. Speaker, I am honoured to rise today to highlight Wear Purple Day in support of the London Abused Women's Centre Shine the Light on Women's Abuse campaign. Today, we wear purple to raise awareness of violence against women and girls, and to stand in solidarity with abused women and support them in understanding that any shame or blame they may feel does not belong to them, but belongs to the perpetrators of their abuse. During the month of November, cities, regions, and counties across Canada are lit up purple to show support. And here in Ottawa, I am honored to advise that tonight, the Peace Tower will be illuminated in purple beginning at 7:10 p.m. I invite all members, senators, and staff to attend the reception to Shine the Light on Women's Abuse tonight from 5 till 7. Thank you to Megan Walker and to her team from the London Abused Women's Centre and centres from across Canada for your incredible work. Hope to see you there as we shine the light on women's abuse.
Yeah. The honourable member for Guelph.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The month of November is Women Abuse Prevention Month. This month, from community groups to the House of Commons, Canadians will come together to fight gender-based violence. In my own riding of Guelph, groups like Women in Crisis offer support and raise awareness of abused women. This past November 3rd, members from Burlington, Sarnia-Lambton, and Nanaimo Ladysmith hosted the Hope in High Heels on Parliament Hill. With both my male and female colleagues, I was honored to kick off my shoes and don pink high heels to march for the rights of women. To the organizers and my fellow participating MPs, I extend my most sincere thanks. In closing, Mr. Speaker, it's important to keep in mind a quote from Guelph's Women in Crisis Centre: "You don't have to be hit to be hurt." Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Saint-Boniface, Saint-Vital. Mr. Speaker, on this historic day, I would like to pay tribute to Louis Riel.
And the Manitoba Métis Federation signed a historic framework agreement setting the path towards reconciliation. Et demain, la communauté métisse du...
Tomorrow, the Métis community of Manitoba will gather at the grave of Louis Riel in the cemetery of the Saint-Boniface Cathedral. They will celebrate the 131st anniversary of his death. For a long time, we've recognized the important role that Louis Riel played in building our country. He was a father of Manitoba, and his picture now hangs alongside those of premiers in the legislature of Manitoba.
And is widely respected for his ability to build consensus amongst those around him. Tomorrow, Manitoba Métis Federation, l'Union Nationale de Métis, and the community to honor our Métis leader, a great Canadian, Louis Riel.
The honourable member for Parry Sound, Muskoka.
Speaker, Canadians' awareness of pancreatic cancer is unfortunately exceptionally low compared to other cancers, despite it being the most deadly form. November is National Awareness Month for this disease, and Pancreatic Cancer Canada has initiated a Purple Lights program to ensure landmarks across Canada to shine a purple light to raise awareness. Cancer de Pancréas Canada sollicite votre...
Pancreatic Cancer Canada is asking for your help to shed light on this terrible illness and the role it plays in the lives of Canadians.
To reach out to their community leaders and request that a local landmark be turned purple. They can also request that a city or municipality declare November as National Awareness Month or November 17th as World Pancreatic Cancer Day. Pancreatic cancer knows no bounds. It can strike anybody at any time. It is estimated that 5,200 Canadians will be diagnosed with this disease this year alone. I encourage all my fellow members to wear purple this November 17th to shed light on pancreatic cancer and to help educate Canadians about this deadly disease.
Member for London West.
Mr. Speaker, this November marks the 7th year of the Shine the Light on Women Abuse campaign. Launched by the London Abused Women's Centre, the campaign engages communities across Canada to stand in solidarity with abused women and girls while supporting them in seeking services by turning cities and regions purple for the month of November. Purple is a symbol of courage, survival, and honor, and has come to symbolize the fight to end women abuse. This year we honor two women, Paula Gallant, a 36-year-old Nova Scotia resident, murdered by her husband while her baby slept upstairs, and Mary Meadows, a southwestern Ontario woman who survived abuse with the support of the London Abused Women's Centre. I encourage all of my colleagues to join me and representatives from the London Abused Women's Centre for the Lighting of the Hill ceremony on the steps of Parliament Hill tonight after the votes to shine the light on abuse against women. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Salaberry-sur-Roy. Mr. Speaker, the 26th edition of Operation Red Nose in Salaberry de Valleyfield is underway. Our goal is to offer 1,000 rides home this year. Between November 25th and December 31st, volunteers will be offering a ride-home service for people who have consumed alcohol, and all proceeds will go to the Fondation Tournesol, which helps families with children with serious illness or disability. This year, the honorary president is Marilyn Picard, the co-founder of the movement Parents Jusqu'au Bout, and the mother of a seriously ill daughter. I would also like to mention the new stream it's called Party with Moderation, organized by the organization Liberté de Choisir, which promotes healthy life choices and addiction prevention. Young people are still the biggest victims of road accidents in Quebec, and more than 1/3 of these deaths are victims under the age of 35. We encourage you to come out and meet the Red Nose volunteers on Saturday, November 19th from 4 to 7 p.m. at 247 Rue La Roque in Salaberry de Valleyfield.
Mr. Speaker, as an Albertan, it has been incredibly difficult to hear the stories of my friends and neighbours who have been affected by the economic downturn in our province. Last week, I held roundtables throughout my Foothills constituency as part of the Alberta Jobs Task Force, and I heard countless stories of job losses, mental health concerns, faltering businesses, and families struggling to make ends meet. However, the resurrection of Keystone has brought renewed hope to thousands of unemployed energy workers in Alberta. The U.S. President-elect supports Keystone XL, and I hope our Prime Minister will also make this a top priority and work with the proponents of this pipeline to get it built. Keystone XL would create critical jobs for Canadian workers and offer a new route to get our energy resources to market. We cannot afford to let this opportunity pass us by. Steel workers in Saskatchewan and Ontario, welders in Nova Scotia, and engineers in Alberta are counting on this government to show leadership, abandon a job-killing carbon tax, and support a job-creating pipeline. Get Keystone XL approved.
The Honourable Member for Ottawa South.
Mr. Speaker, we were shocked and horrified to learn of the anti-Semitic incident targeting a local Jewish home in Ottawa just last night. Residents woke to find part of a swastika and anti-Semitic slur spray-painted on their front door. This incident clearly demonstrates that anti-Semitism still exists in Canada and that all of us must be vigilant, speak out, and actively work together to combat it. We simply cannot let this kind of discrimination go unanswered, or worse, Mr. Speaker, seep into the everyday lives of Canadians. Mr. Speaker, all of us in this House and in our communities must signal that religiously motivated attacks are indeed contrary to Canadian values and principles. I ask all members, stand together, side by side, in condemning, denouncing, and most of all, repudiating this incident and any others like it. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Questions orales, oral questions. The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, today we wear purple to shine the light on violence against women. We stand in solidarity with women subject to violence, and we give them our unconditional support. Mr. Speaker, when I was Health Minister, I was pleased to announce a 10-year, $100 million investment to prevent, detect, and combat family violence and child abuse, with 30% of that funding going to Aboriginal women, who, of course, Mr. Speaker, are the most vulnerable of the victims. So, Mr. Speaker, I'd like to ask the Health Minister, can she reassure the House that this funding and investment is still ongoing?
The Honourable Minister for the Status of Women.
Well, thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I think we all stand in solidarity with women who are experiencing violence in their everyday lives. It's so heartwarming to see so many people wearing purple today. I am very excited to be working on a federal gender-based violence strategy that is going to take into account the tremendous work that needs to be done in this country to address this issue, and I am very much looking forward to reporting to this House in 2017 how our strategy will unfold.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Well, Mr. Speaker, the new reality Canada faces is simple. The President-elect in the United States has promised major personal and business tax cuts. This Prime Minister has raised income taxes, business taxes, and is implementing a carbon tax. His approach will drive new investment away from Canada to the United States. This means less jobs for Canadians and less growth. Faced with this new reality, Mr. Speaker, will the Prime Minister cancel his tax hikes so Canada can compete?
The Honourable President of the Treasury Board.
Speaker, we inherited a slow-growth economy, and our government has invested in jobs and growth. It's why we reduced taxes for the middle class. It's why we introduced a Canada Child Benefit, which will raise 300,000 Canadian kids out of poverty. It's why we're investing in infrastructure, to build more livable communities and a more competitive economy, and to create jobs and growth. When she talks about taxes, why did she vote against a tax cut for the middle class, one that really helps generate economic activity in communities across Canada?
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Well, Mr. Speaker, the reality is that it's been a year and this government has not created one new additional full-time job. Not one. 1 year ago, the Prime Minister claimed that he was disappointed with President Obama's decision to reject Keystone Pipeline. But now that the new President-elect has expressed his support, will the Prime Minister do the right thing and move quickly to lend his personal and public support for Keystone XL Pipeline?
The Honourable Minister of Natural Resources.
Mr. Speaker, the government had indicated its support for Keystone XL, and it also said it was disappointed when President Obama saw it a different way. All of the necessary approvals in Canada are in place. They have not timed out. And if the company decides that it wants to introduce it once again, the government will, as it was before, be supportive of the application.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Monsieur le Président, les banques
Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister's Infrastructure Bank will give the Liberals' millionaire friends a good return on their investment. There'll be tolls and so on. The Prime Minister says there will be no tolls on the Champlain Bridge. Is he now saying the opposite? Who's going to make the decision? The Prime Minister, the Mayor, the provinces, or the investment firms? The Honourable Minister of Transport. Mr. Speaker, we are very proud of our investment. It's unprecedented. The investment this government is making in infrastructure, $190 billion over the next 12 years for green infrastructure, social infrastructure, and transportation infrastructure, not to mention transportation infrastructure to promote trade. We've also created an infrastructure bank. This will enable us to attract investment from investors and to do even more about infrastructure. That's what Canadians want. The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Now, if foreign billionaires loan the Canadian government money for bridges, hospitals, and schools, they aren't going to do it out of the goodness of their hearts. Yes. They're looking for a return. Jobs will be a cost that's kept to a minimum, and taxpayer dollars will come second to their profits whenever a project goes over budget. So can the Prime Minister explain what safeguards he'll put in place to ensure taxpayer dollars are treated with respect and don't simply become a backstop for the margins for billionaire investors?
And the Minister of Transport.
Mr. Speaker, we always treat our tax dollars with great respect in this government. We have decided to make unprecedented investments in infrastructure, something that it was never done by the previous government. $180 billion during the next 12 years in green infrastructure and social infrastructure, in public transit, in transportation corridors. This is a good thing for Canada, and we've created an infrastructure bank so that we can get even more money to put into our infrastructures. Canadians want that. It creates jobs. It's good for the economy.
Okay, D'Outremont.
The Honourable Member for Outremont.
Speaker, the Liberal bill on pensions will penalize women who take time out of the workforce to raise kids, a protection that has existed since 1977. The Liberal government insists that they are proud of the new Canada Pension Plan. How can you be proud of a plan that penalizes women? Simple question. Was this an oversight in the drafting of this legislation? And if so, when will they fix it?
Honourable Minister of Social Development.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm glad that our colleague is talking about our collective pride here in the House around improvements to the CPP that will help make people's retirement, 300,000 families' retirement income more secure. The majority of those families have women at the head of household. A lot of low-income women will benefit from these improvements to the benefits available. This is very good news, particularly for women. The Honourable Member for Outremont. The Minister has just dodged the question, and he knows it full well. Clearly, they're not that proud. That's why they voted to shut down debate. In 77, the government reformed the Canada Pension Plan so that women would no longer be penalized. The Prime Minister of the time was Pierre Elliott Trudeau. 40 years later, the current Prime Minister refuses to even admit their mistake and is cutting off debate on the bill. Is that what a feminist does? Run roughshod over women's rights? The Honourable Minister. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Once again, I appreciate the opportunity to say a bit more about the importance of the improvements to the Canada Pension Plan for women. Often, unfortunately, retired women are living alone, and we brought the eligibility age for OAS back down to 65, and that will elevate some women or help some women avoid falling into poverty, senior women. The majority of the population in question is made up of women living alone. Mr. Speaker, it's important what we're doing. The Honourable Member for Outremont.
Removes rights from women. How can they be proud of that?
After a decade under Stephen Harper, Canadians have lost faith in our pipeline review process. The Liberals have established a panel to fix the review process, but most of its members are from the oil patch. Can the minister give us his definition of conflict of interest? The Honourable Minister of Natural Resources.
Surprised at the honourable member's response to a panel of 5 distinguished Canadians who represent many interests. There are 2 Indigenous leaders as a part of this 5-person panel. There are those who have long experience with the regulatory process. Would he have us appoint people who have no experience with the process? We're proud of the 5. They'll do great work for Canada.
Here, here.
The Honourable Member for Outremont.
Industry hacks or nobody? Stephen Harper broke Canadians' trust on the pipeline review process because he completely dismantled it. Instead of fulfilling their promise to fix the broken system, the Liberals have appointed a panel dominated by people with close ties to the oil industry to rewrite the rules for the oil industry. I really wonder if the minister has even thought about the notion of conflict of interest. How can Canadians have any faith that this government is fixing the Harper mistakes when they keep repeating them?
The Honourable Minister of Natural Resources.
Mr. Speaker, the member perhaps may want to reflect on what just said about distinguished Canadians, including Grand Chiefs, both in Saskatchewan and in British Columbia, he is accusing of being corporate hacks. That is not the kind of respectful discourse that is going to create some credibility for the regulator trying to do a good job for Canadians. These are very unfortunate accusations.
The Honourable Member for Louis Saint Laurent. Mr. Speaker, 5 times we asked the Minister of Finance when the books would be balanced again. And the finance minister has never been able to say when we'll achieve zero deficit in Canada. Today, the Parliamentary Budget Officer, the PBO, has taken the government to task. He says the government has no calendar for balancing the books. So my question is quite simple. When will we get back to balanced books? The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Finance. Mr. Speaker, I'd like to thank my colleague from Louis-Saint-Laurent for his question. Mr. Speaker, our goal is to invest in Canadian families and the middle class to create well-paying jobs, and that's why we're very proud that in the fall update, we announced historic investments in infrastructure for sports, for green infrastructure, for water quality, air quality, for social infrastructure. We've also invested in our trade corridors. We've invested in rural communities, in northern regions. We've invested in Canada. The Honourable Member for Louis-Saint-Laurent.
In English, zero deficit, c'est exactement la même chose.
It's the same thing.
Neither in French nor in English. This government has been elected under the fact that it will have a balanced budget in 2019, but today it's no more the case. So my question is quite simple. In French or in English, give us to Canadians a date. When Canada will get back with zero deficit? When?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
Mr. Speaker, I'm very pleased to answer in English what we've done for Canadians. And in the fall economic statement, Mr. Speaker, we invested in Canadian families. We invested in infrastructure. We invested in our economy to create jobs. The world gets it. The Canadians get it. Even the IMF director said, Mr. Speaker, she hopes that the Canadian plan goes viral. I just hope that our friends on the other side will understand. That's a plan for Canadians. That's a plan for Canadian jobs. That's a plan for Canadian families, and we're going to continue with that.
I remind honourable members that the rules that the members of the House have made provide that we don't interrupt. So let's remember to listen to the questions and to the answers. The
Honourable Member for Richmond-Arthabaska. Mr. Speaker, yesterday the Prime Minister was in Toronto to promote his new infrastructure bank, and he said the provinces and municipalities were delighted at the prospect of more funding. What he didn't say was that $15 billion that has been earmarked for rural municipalities is being funneled into this new bank, and they'll never get it. Nor did he say that only projects of $100 million plus would be accepted. Can the Prime Minister at least come clean and tell Canadians and the regions of Canada that they will never see the color of that money from that bank? The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Infrastructure. Mr. Speaker, we were elected on a commitment to launch the largest infrastructure program in Canadian history. We've done that with $22 billion for transit, billions for green infrastructure, a total of $190 billion, half of which is new money. So we're not going to have fewer projects, we're going to have more. Now, a member for Richmond-Arthabaska. Mr. Speaker, the speech from the throne makes no mention of regions. Regional economic development ministers' positions have been done away with. In addition, the Liberals have the nerve to take the $15 billion that was earmarked for regions, and they've funneled it into this future bank that will only fund projects of over $100 million. And this will be unavailable to regional municipalities and rural areas. The government is saying bye-bye to small municipalities in Canada in order to say welcome to their own cronies. If that is the Liberal plan for job creation. The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary. Mr. Speaker, allow me to repeat that we're launching the most ambitious infrastructure program in Canada, $81 billion in new money, also $2 billion. Perhaps my colleague missed this in the document. $2 billion is going directly to small rural communities. So we're not just there for the cities, we're there for the regions too. It's time they got that.
Privatization works. CN Rail, Air Canada,
and Petro-Canada have gone from costly wards of the state to profitable private sector employers because investors got both profit and the risk. By contrast, the Liberals will force taxpayers to take on the financial risk of infrastructure mega projects while allowing billionaire bankers like the ones the Prime Minister was schmoozing yesterday to enjoy all the profit. Why should taxpayers get all of the risk while billionaire insiders get all of the profit?
Secretary for Finance.
Mr. Speaker, I'm sure my colleague on the other side would be happy to hear about our clear action plan to grow the middle class and Canadian jobs. Mr. Speaker, we're very proud that our Prime Minister was in Toronto yesterday to speak with investors, and we had a number of ministers. And let me remind this chamber what one of the members said, Mr. Speaker. That's the chief executive of the Ontario Teachers Pension Plan. I hope he's going to listen. I believe that they have a vision to put together a model which is groundbreaking. In terms of the detail of how it will actually be executed, I think they are correctly looking to the expertise that exists in the country for input and advice how to move this agenda forward. That's the
honourable member for Carleton.
Well, Mr. Speaker, if pension funds want to invest in infrastructure, they can. They don't need a $35 billion backstop from taxpayers. And the question is, who's actually going to run this? They say it won't be elected officials or public servants. So will investment bankers have use of $35 billion tax dollars to guarantee the profits of other investment bankers? Self-serving insiders get the reward. Taxpayers get the risk. How will this government ensure that this scheme does not become a $35 billion taxpayer-backed, self-licking ice cream cone?
Honourable comment to Secretary for Infrastructure and Community.
Monsieur le Président, la question de la banque.
Mr. Speaker, the infrastructure bank question is too serious to make jokes about. We are launching the biggest infrastructure program in Canadian history. Green, social, public transit infrastructure. Infrastructure is a critical tool for economic growth. The minister is consulting with the provinces, the municipalities, and we will be able to make further announcements later, but this is good news for Canadians.
For North Island Powell River.
Yesterday, Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister and 8 ministers were in Toronto for a meeting hosted by the powerful private equity firm BlackRock to discuss what the Canadian government can do to help these investors get a piece of our public infrastructure. Of course, private investors will not invest out of the goodness of their hearts. They will want a big return. The only way they will get that is through tolls and user fees for Canadians. Why did the Liberals hide their privatization scheme from Canadians during the campaign? This is not what Canadians voted for.
Honourable comment to Secretary for Infrastructure and Community.
Well, Mr. Speaker, I don't think we hide anything. If you go to the platform, I'd invite my colleague to read on page 8. If she's not satisfied, she can read page 15 of the platform. If not, it's not enough, maybe page 40 of the platform 3 times. Monsieur le Président, on investit dans le...
Mr. Speaker, we are investing in the largest infrastructure program in Canadian history. The bank is another tool to promote more infrastructure, not less, more. The honourable member for Rimouski, Nejet, Témiscouata, Basque. It's really an open bar for Liberal cronies on Bay Street and Wall Street. First of all, BlackRock has been allowed to call the shots on privatizing infrastructure, and Credit Suisse, a firm that specializes in buying up infrastructure, is being asked whether we should privatize airports. And finally, apparently Morgan Stanley, the same firm that was partially to blame for the 2008 financial meltdown, has been hired to advise the government on privatizing ports. Stephen Harper never dared go that far. So, how do they explain that this was not even in their platform? The Honourable Minister. Mr. Speaker, I had the pleasure a couple of weeks ago to speak about my vision of Transportation 2030. We are there for Canadians when it comes to transportation. And when we talk about ports, what's important is that it be good for the Canadian economy, because that's where we export and import, is through the ports. And when it comes to airports, the most important people are travelers. We always have their interests at heart when we make our decisions. Thank you. The honourable member for Lévis-Lotbinière. Mr. Speaker, nobody seems surprised to see the same old Liberal culture rearing its head when it comes to political fundraising. But that doesn't make their dishonest and questionable practice any more acceptable, less punishable, or more ethical. Mr. Speaker, when Liberal ministers take cash for access from well-heeled Canadians, do they benefit, and if so, how? Does it protect their ministerial positions? No. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm very happy to answer that question because I'd like to share what the Ethics Commissioner said. She said that all the rules had been followed by the Finance Minister when he took part in the Halifax and Toronto fundraisers. As I said repeatedly, the fundraising rules, the federal rules, are among the strictest in the country, and we will continue to abide by them. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The honourable member for Lévis-Lotbinière. Mr. Speaker, protecting the integrity of the ministerial role should go without saying. But when it comes to entertaining fundraisers at $1,500 a plate for special access to a minister, the Liberal Party apparently makes an exception. Mr. Speaker, can Cabinet reassure the House, get serious, and reject this questionable and dishonest Liberal fundraising practice by voting in favor of this evening's motion? The Honourable Government House Leader. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. As I have had the opportunity to say repeatedly here in the House, the federal fundraising rules are among the strictest in the country, and we will continue to abide by them. It's very important to listen to what the Ethics Commissioner and Conflict of Interest Commissioner said. She confirmed that all the rules had been followed by the Finance Minister when he took part in the fundraisers in Toronto and Halifax. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Red Deer Lacombe.
Also said, Mr. Speaker, that the activities that the Liberal Party is currently engaged in are quite unsavory right in front of the Ethics Committee. Mr. Speaker, later today the Liberals will have a chance to show Canadians they believe in the words of the Prime Minister. This House will vote on our Conservative motion to empower the Ethics Commissioner to enforce the Prime Minister's own open and accountable government rules. Those are the rules we're talking about, Mr. Speaker. The Ethics Commissioner has called for this authority, so it seems the Liberals are going to vote against our motion at any rate. So if the Prime Minister believes in his own words and wants to be transparent, will he lead by example and direct his caucus to vote in favour of our motion today? Simple question.
The Honourable Government House Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I appreciate the opportunity to rise in this chamber and to share with all members as well as Canadians that the Conflict of Interest and Ethics Commissioner has confirmed that all rules were followed with regards to the Finance Minister's attendance at the Halifax fundraiser and the Toronto fundraiser. As I have said many times in this House, Canada's fundraising rules are some of the strongest, and we will continue to follow the rules. The level of engagement with this government is unprecedented, and we will continue to engage with Canadians. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Red Deer Lacombe.
Mr. Speaker, if the Liberals don't even believe in their own rules, how can Canadians believe anything they say about anything at all? Since the election, the Liberals have held over 80 cash for access events. They've made up California Dream Trips. They've got taxpayer-funded nannies and limos, ministers and senior staffers charging ineligible expenses, and the Prime Minister giving over $200,000 to his BFFs to move to Ottawa. Now, I could go on, Mr. Speaker, but I've only got 35 seconds. I don't have 35 minutes. So will the Prime Minister finally put a stop to all this unethical behaviour and give the Ethics Commissioner the power to enforce his very own rules?
The Honourable Government House Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And as I have said time and time again, and I encourage the member to listen to what I am saying, is that in Canada we have some of the strongest and strictest fundraising rules. And this government will continue to follow the rules. And something that this government has done, unlike the previous government, is to engage with Canadians, is to consult with Canadians, is to listen to Canadians, and is to deliver on the commitments we made during the campaign, including lowering the taxes on middle-class families. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Order. The Honourable Member for Belleuil-Chambly. Mr. Speaker, first journalists and now Indigenous activists are being spied on. We learned that since 2014, the RCMP has been tracking Indigenous people who are exercising their civic right during demonstrations ranging from environmental protection to the denunciation of the overly numerous cases of missing and murdered Indigenous women. And with C-51 in place, we're not reassured. Can the minister explain to us why the RCMP is spying on Indigenous activists?
The Minister of Public Safety.
Mr. Speaker, the right to peaceful protest is guaranteed by the Charter. The focus of this particular investigation was in keeping with the recommendations of the Ipperwash inquiry, which highlighted the importance of handling Indigenous protests with dedicated and unique resources, strategies, and knowledge. The investigation concluded, by the way, that there were no direct threats to critical infrastructure and no organized crime nexus associated with Indigenous protests.
The honourable member for Timmins, James Bay. Order.
Mr. Speaker, last week the Prime Minister stood in Parliament and agreed to immediately flow the $155 million shortfall in child welfare. But Cindy Blackstock's already saying she may have to take this government to court because they're stonewalling. Meanwhile, we have communities that are struggling with serious allegations of sexual abuse. Without the resources on the ground, there's no way to protect these children. This is money that is urgently needed. So this is about the credibility of the Prime Minister's word. Is he going to flow that money? Or is this going to be just another in a long line of broken promises to Indigenous kids in Canada?
Great. Honourable Minister of Indigenous and Northern Affairs.
Mr. Speaker, we take the tribunal's ruling very seriously, and we took the vote in the House of Commons very seriously as well. As you know, we've committed $635 million to address the funding gap, and we've committed to overhauling the child welfare system. The issue of child abuse is very serious, and it is going to be increasingly important that we talk openly about this and have First Nations leadership deal with this in a way that we can share this and deal with the 80% of addictions, 80% of incarceration attributed to child abuse. This has to stop now.
Honourable member for South Shore, St. Margaret's.
Mr. Speaker, my riding of South Shore St. Margaret's is home to a beautiful coastline where a number of my constituents make their living because of our proximity to the ocean. My constituents also recognize that a clean environment and a strong economy go hand in hand. Can the Minister of Transport please update this House as to the work he has done and will continue to do to improve marine safety in Canada?
The Honourable Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I thank the member from South Shore St. Margaret's for her question and for advocacy, particularly with respect to abandoned and derelict vessels. Our government is committed to improving marine safety as well as the safety of shipping on all our three coasts. It's also providing economic opportunity. We were very proud to announce a week ago the Oceans Protection Plan, a $1.5 billion investment over the next 5 years. This is good for our coasts for generations to come, and we're very happy that we've involved our Indigenous communities, coastal nations, as well as local communities on our coasts. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The honourable member for Selkirk, Interlake Eastman.
Mr. Speaker, rather than honouring our veterans, the Defence Minister used Remembrance Day to campaign for his Prime Minister's seat on the UN Security Council. He told the media that Canada would be committed to a 3-year UN mission, but then his press secretary contradicted him, saying it wasn't true. In opposition, the Prime Minister said the Liberal Party cannot support any military mission when the arguments to support it have not been presented in an open and transparent manner. When will the Prime Minister put an end to this hypocrisy and explain to Canadians what our troops are going to be doing in Africa?
Honourable Minister of National Defence.
Mr. Speaker, as we announced back in late August, our intention, government's intention to support UN peace support operations with a 3-year funding commitment with police officers, military, and development, a whole of government approach. A lot of work has been done since then, and a lot of work is being done right now. And when we all have all the necessary information, I just came back from a recent trip from Mali and Senegal. Once I have the whole of government approach and the analysis done, then I look forward to presenting all this information to Canadians and this House. Thank you, Mr.
The Honourable Member for Charles-Bourg-Saint Charles. Mr. Speaker, I'm going to ask the same question but in French. Mr. Speaker, our veterans are very disheartened to see the minister use about the subject in about the mission in Iraq. The minister said that he would not support any military mission when the arguments to support it have not been presented in an open and transparent manner. So where are their arguments? When will they be transparent and explain where our soldiers will be deployed, in what goal, and under what conditions?
Mr. Speaker, I look presenting the plans with my colleagues on the whole of government approach to peace support operations. But about Remembrance Day, we can be proud of all the Blue Berets that stood on Remembrance Day and be proud of the work that they've done. And I can also assure you, my former colleagues who I personally have served with are excited the fact that they can make a contribution. Regardless of where our troops are deployed, we can be proud of the great work that they do for peace and stability around this world. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Member for Selkirk, Interlake, Eastman.
Let's use Remembrance Day to honor our veterans and not use it for political purposes. Mr. Speaker, military commanders on the ground broke the Liberals' cone of silence because, and I quote, they want the Canadian public to have a better understanding of the mission in Iraq. Mr. Speaker, the Liberal government not only attempted to silence our military, they continue to mislead Canadians by insisting that we're not in a non-combat role. While Lieutenant Colonel Steve Hunter confirmed, Canadian troops have been the first ones to engage the enemy on multiple occasions. Will the Defence Minister finally be honest, acknowledge that our troops are in combat, and apologize for misleading Canadians?
Honourable Minister of National Defence.
Mr. Speaker, regardless of where we send our troops in the world, regardless of operations, we're going to make sure that they have a robust rules of engagement, and we can be proud of their work. The information that the opposite, member opposite is talking about in terms of the rules of engagement, our soldiers have a duty to protect civilians at the times, and our troops are fulfilling this mission within the appropriate advise and assist mandate. Our Chief of Defence Staff was at committee today. I have a tech brief that will be presented tomorrow, and we have journalists right now reporting on this in theatre, and that's open and transparent in terms of what we're providing, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Charlebourg-Saint-Charles. Mr. Speaker, the Minister of Defence is playing with words. He knows well, and so do we, that soldiers are on the ground. So advise, assist, and train, they're using all those words in both languages, but the important thing for us is to know from the government whether Canadian soldiers are participating in combat in any way at all, and Canadians have the right to know whether our Canadian soldiers are actually on the ground in combat.
Mr. Speaker, as I stated before, our troops are in the advise and assist function, but they have robust rules of engagement to protect themselves. And in many cases, they need to protect not only themselves, their coalition partners, and civilians. And this is an imperative that they have a duty to do so. And I'm very proud of the work that they're doing and to fulfill their mission in an honorable manner. And when we conduct any operations in the world, we'll make sure that they have the right capability, the right equipment, and the robust rules of engagement to carry out their mission.
The Honourable Member for Saint-Hyacinthe-Bagotte. Mr. Speaker, the food banks of Canada have told us that in the month of March alone, close to 2 million people turned to them to feed themselves. To help these people, their report recommends to the government that a national poverty reduction strategy should be put in place before October 1st, 2017. We have the opportunity to act now because my bill, C-245, which seeks to put in place this kind of strategy, is now at second reading. Will the government work with the NDP by supporting this bill? The Honourable Minister of Social Development. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to begin by commending and thanking my honourable colleague, with whom I have had many opportunities over the past weeks to work and to dialogue. I know that she wants to reduce poverty like we do, and we are trying to build a poverty reduction strategy that will be the first in Canada, and that's why in the 2016 budget we announced important measures to reduce poverty among children, seniors, Indigenous peoples, and among many other Canadians who need it.
Member for Nanaimo, Ladysmith.
Mr. Speaker, the number of Canadians using food banks approaches 1 million people. That kind of hunger should not be happening in Canada. This government should take real action.
Hear, hear.
Many users of food banks are women fleeing domestic violence, and so far the Liberal government has failed to deliver a comprehensive strategy to end violence against women. As this evening Parliament is illuminated in purple, marking Women Abuse Prevention Week, we call on this government to turn its feminist rhetoric into real feminist action.
The Honourable Minister for the Status of Women.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I also thank the member opposite for giving me a chance to talk about the work we've been doing to create a comprehensive federal gender-based violence strategy. We know that in order to create a strategy, we needed to talk to the people on the ground, and that's exactly what we did over the summer. We met with thousands of people from coast to coast, talking about the needs of women on the front, in the communities, the frontline workers, academics, and researchers. And when we were complete, we pulled all that information together. We look forward to releasing a strategy in 2017.
The honourable member for Barrie Innisfil.
Mr. Speaker, Health Canada has confirmed that the use of the harmful malaria drug mefloquine can cause long-lasting psychological effects. Many of our veterans have testified about suffering life-altering side effects after using the drug. Yet the Defence Minister continues to support the use of mefloquine, stating that it's up to the soldiers to assess the risks themselves. Shame. Really, Mr. Speaker? Mr. Speaker, my question is to the Defence Minister. With the evidence mounting, when will he do the right thing and protect our Canadian soldiers from mefloquine?
Honourable Minister of National Defence.
Mr. Speaker, we take the health and well-being of our Canadian Armed Forces members extremely seriously. Malaria is a life-threatening disease present in many areas of the world to which our members may deploy during their career. The type of medication our Canadian Forces members use must be left to the medical experts. Individuals are carefully assessed, screened by health services, and ensure that they have all the necessary information to make an evidence-based decision for their anti-malarial medication. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Member for Kamloops, Thompson, Caribou.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Yesterday, I asked the minister why she was forcing band members from Onion Lake to go to court to get financial transparency. She indicated that she was very happy to have a meeting with me. Mr. Speaker, this is not about me. This is not about the chiefs. This is about empowering community members and giving them the information they deserve. When will the minister stop this fight against band members and transparency?
The Honourable Minister of Indigenous and Northern Affairs.
Mr. Speaker, our government and First Nations governments are very serious about transparency and accountability. It is common practice for First Nations to report to my department as well as to their members with their financial and program performance statements. If any member of any community is having trouble receiving that from their chief and council, they are welcome to approach my department directly, and we will work with them to achieve their goal.
Honourable Member for Kamloops, Thompson, Caribou.
Mr. Speaker, the point is they shouldn't have to go to the minister's office to get basic information. Band members are being forced to take the same chiefs to court to get the most basic information that every other Canadian deserves. Does she not realize how nonsensical it is to say, contact my office if they don't post it? It is absolutely unreasonable. Why will the minister not start empowering band members at Onion Lake, Samson Cree, Shuswap, and others who are begging for access to basic information?
The Honourable Minister of Indigenous and Northern Affairs.
Mr. Speaker, from coast to coast to coast, First Nations governments are accountable to their members. They post it on websites. They post it on password-protected websites. They have town hall meetings. They post the audited statements in their band office. I repeat, if any member is unable to achieve that or has not been shown the data, which I think is sometimes a different interpretation by the member than others, we will be happy to facilitate that information. But most First Nations are reporting this way, and the members should stop demonizing them.
Order. The Honourable Member for Brampton East.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Canadians are rightly proud of the thousands of new Canadians that we welcome each year into our communities, many of who come to Canada to attend our well-respected post-secondary institutions, including my alma mater, Wilfrid Laurier University. Can the Minister of Immigration please update this House on how this government is attracting some of the best and brightest international students to come to Canada?
Great question.
The Honourable Minister of Immigration.
Well, Mr. Speaker, I thank the Honourable Member for his good question. And I believe that the best potential future Canadians are international students. They're educated, they're relatively young, they speak English or French, and they know something about the country, and we're in competition with their services with other countries. So that is why yesterday I announced changes in additional points for those students so that no less than 40% of our economic immigrants will in fact be international students.
Honourable member for Calgary Nose Hill.
Mr. Speaker, I wish the minister had that level of rigor with the Mexican visa requirement, because today at committee, a senior immigration official who was in charge of all of Latin America admitted that the Liberals knew that there were risks associated with their rush to lift the Mexican visa requirement at a parliamentary committee. We also learned from this official that the Liberals lifted the visa requirement in spite of this advice. Mr. Speaker, Canadians deserve to know, this is really important, what were these risks? Right. Why were the Liberals hiding them from Canadians? And why did the Liberals blatantly ignore them?
Honourable Minister of Immigration.
Mr. Speaker, unlike the previous Conservative government, we do welcome Mexicans to Canada. We welcome the tourists. We welcome their expenditures. We welcome closer ties with our NATO partner. And we're aware of the risks. Of course, we knew there were risks. There's risks when you do anything. We knew there were risks. We are working with the Mexican government to minimize those risks. We are monitoring the situation, but we are very happy to welcome more Mexican tourists to this country and to accept the jobs that go along with that.
Honourable member for Cowichan, Malahat, Langford.
Mr. Speaker, the residents in my riding of Cowichan, Malahat, Langford are calling on this government to stop the dumping of contaminated soil from Canadian Forces Base at Esquimalt to Shawnigan Lake. This contamination is seeping into the watershed, threatening aquatic life and drinking water for an entire community. The community was never consulted and never approved it. So my question is to the Minister of Defence. Will he stop the dumping of this contaminated soil in this area, and will this government protect Shawnigan Lake, which provides drinking water for thousands of local residents?
Honourable Minister of National Defence.
Mr. Speaker, I'm aware of the situation. I've asked the department for additional briefings on it, and when I have additional information, I'll provide it for the member. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honourable member for Marc-Aurèle-Fortin. Mr. Speaker, as a former teacher, I care deeply about the future of our young students. Given the constantly evolving technological environment, can the Minister of Science tell us how the federal government is encouraging young people to become proficient in new technologies? Honourable Minister of Science. Mr. Speaker, I would like to thank my colleague from Marc-Aurèle-Fortin for his question.
Working hard to equip young Canadians with the educations and tools they need to succeed in an innovative economy. NSERC's Technology Access Centre grants help engage youth in the development of new technologies. Through access to new research, cutting-edge technology, and industry professionals, students at Canada's colleges and cégeps are able to gain hands-on experience.
Honourable member for Chilliwack Hope.
Mr. Speaker, while the Prime Minister dithers delays and duplicates reviews for job-creating natural resource projects in Canada, President-elect Trump has said that he will move quickly to ramp up production of $50 trillion worth of American energy reserves. The United States has gone from being our biggest energy customer to our biggest competitor. Will this game-changing U.S. election finally wake this government up to the challenges facing our energy sector, and will they finally start supporting jobs in Canada that support Canadian energy workers?
The Honourable Minister of Natural Resources.
Mr. Speaker, I gave an answer earlier on about the attitude of the Canadian government to Keystone XL pipeline. Should the company decide to reintroduce so that the President-elect can make a decision? The member also knows that within the next number of weeks, there will be very important decisions made in Canada. We believe that we have followed a process that will carry the confidence of Canadians. And as the member knows, this government believes that economic development and environmental stewardship go hand in hand.
Honourable member for Bécancour-Nicolet-Sorel. Mr. Speaker, the government intends to invest $22 billion in green infrastructure, including in interprovincial transmission lines that reduce reliance on coal-fired power generation. Mr. Speaker, this description is tailor-made for Muskrat Falls, a project that was built expressly to compete with Hydro-Quebec. Does the government intend, in addition to the loan guarantees already granted, to directly fund the disaster that is Muskrat Falls? Honourable Minister of Natural Resources.
Has extended loan guarantees to the Muskrat Falls project. The government of Newfoundland and Labrador is entirely responsible for the completion of this. It's part of the government's strategy to make sure that we are producing non-emitting sources of electricity that will be very much a part of Atlantic Canada's energy future.
The Honourable Member for Rivière-du-Nord. Mr. Speaker, imagine a taxpayer who cannot make his mortgage payment, so he goes to his bank and he receives, in addition to a payment vacation, a generous increase in his line of credit. Well, that's exactly what this government is doing with Newfoundland, which has defaulted on payments of $266 million. The Liberals are stretching out deadlines and adding $2.9 billion in loan guarantees to the $6.4 billion that were already granted to fund Muskrat Falls. Will this government finally stop using Quebecers' money for the unfair competition against Hydro-Quebec? Honourable Minister of Natural Resources.
Been beset by difficulties, cost overruns, and delays. The project has been in trouble. The project, however, carries the potential of providing clean electricity to Newfoundland and Labrador and throughout Atlantic Canada. This is part of the national government's interest in encouraging these kinds of developments so that we will be easing the transition to a low-carbon economy.
I would like to draw to the attention of honourable members the presence in the gallery of Mr. Erik Sivertsen, Member of Parliament from Norway and Chair of the Standing Committee of Parliamentarians of the Arctic region, and parliamentarians attending the Standing Committee meeting.
I believe that the member for Belleuil-Chambly has a point of order. Yes, Mr. Speaker. I know I don't have a lot of time, so I'll be quick. I just wanted to draw to your attention some of the words that we saw on social media concerning a journalist who was accredited by the press gallery who was not allowed access to a committee.
Of their own destiny, but given your responsibility towards the precinct and as well our relationship with the parliamentary press gallery without the ability to verify the veracity of this claim, I would certainly hope that you would take note of it and investigate further and make sure that journalists' rights have not been impeded on in this particular situation. Merci. Well done.
I thank the honourable member for having raised this question. As was said, committees are masters of their own domain, but I will look into the situation. I thank the member. As it is 3:05, pursuant to the order adopted on